Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. We're back again with more Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. And this time, I want to talk about Mythic Paths. I feel like there's a lot of you who are trying to figure out what kind of Mythic Path do I want to take, and you could use some additional information about how each Mythic Path works. So, a couple of notes before we get into the video. I am going to try to keep things very general when I talk about these paths. So I'm certainly not going to be spoiling specific story beats or who you meet or don't meet in the game. And the majority of what I talk about, you will probably be able to get from the trailers that Owlcat has released or the information that they have put on their website. But of course, I'm going to have to go into at least some details regarding the Mythic Path. So if you're the type of person who wants to go into these paths completely fresh, no idea of abilities or spells or anything, this is probably not the video for you. Just want to put that out there right now. Second of all, I want to make sure it's clear this is all a matter of perspective, right? So I'm absolutely certain there'll be people down in the comments telling you I'm wrong about something or they completely disagree with me about something. That's all cool. These paths are meant to get people talking and comparing their experiences and talking about what appeals to them and what doesn't appeal to them. So, this is all just information. At the end of the day, you still need to make your own decision about what's going to appeal the most to you. And then finally, I want to make it clear all of the mythic paths are great. All of them have something in some area to really pull you in and make you feel like you're having a great time. So even if I put a particular mythic path at the bottom of the list in a particular category, that doesn't mean that it's trash. It just means compared to the other awesome things that the other mythic paths have to offer, I don't feel like this mythic path stacks up against them. That's all. Okay, and with all that being said, let's go ahead and dive in. So, we're going to break this up into four different categories. First category is combat, meaning how easy is it for you to take this mythic path and then go up against some of the really difficult enemies in Pathfinder. Second is role playing. So, how much does the game make you feel like you're becoming a different person or occupying this specific role because you have selected a mythic path? Third is flexibility. So, some of you like to play around with different types of builds. Some of you like to choose really weird, odd builds that wouldn't necessarily work right. How flexible are certain mythic paths about just adapting to whatever it is that you're doing? And then finally, I'll give you my own personal ranking 1 through 6 for all the mythic paths that are available in the beta. I want to note that we will not be covering any of the additional mythic paths that are supposedly going to be added in the full game. I know some of their spells and abilities have been leaked online, but since I haven't actually played with any of them or looked through the mechanics myself, I don't feel comfortable adding them into this ranking video. So, with that, let's go ahead and get started. First up is combat. At number 6, I put Aeon. I think Aeon is decent if you have a summoner build or a build that really revolves around buffing your party members. And it's a decent debuffer against enemies if they're using illusion spells. So if you're trying to pull off displacement, mirror image, things of that nature, Aeon will give you something. Other than that, I would say the Aeon combat kit is kind of underwhelming. There's nothing you're really going to hang your flag on and say, oh man, this is incredible. I'm going to use this every combat experience. Like it just doesn't have anything like that. So I put it at number 6. At number 5, I put Demon. You've probably seen some of the amazing abilities that Demon has in the trailers. You can change into different types of demons and they get aspects that give them different properties based upon the demonic aspect that you've taken. But the problem is most of the cool things that Demon gets has a limited time frame. So you get a rage power, but you can only use it 2, maybe 3 times per day. You get these transformations, but these transformations last a certain amount of time based upon your caster level. Demon doesn't combine with anybody else's spell book, so most of the time your caster level is probably going to be lower, and you'll be able to keep on these transformations maybe what, 7 minutes, 10 minutes later on. It doesn't have anything that just stays on, is constantly running, and just allows you to dive in and get into combat. So I put it at number 5. At number 4, I put Trickster. In my opinion, Trickster gets the best crowd control ability in the entire game. It's an ability that cannot be replicated in any other Mythic Path or any other regular class. It's automatic, it happens at the beginning of every single combat, and it is highly effective pretty much regardless of who you're facing. So, off of that alone, I put it at number 4. The rest of what you get with Trickster, again, it's not really about what you're doing directly in combat. It's about other things happening outside of combat that are going to make you more effective once you enter into combat. So it's cool, but you got to kind of figure it out. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. So I put it at number 4. I can't raise it higher based off that. At number 3, I put Lich. Lich is amazing. You get a long list of different powers and abilities that you can choose from. You get a minion that adds additional layers to everything that you can do in combat. It's just a fantastic package overall. But because that list is so long and there's so many things regarding Lich, I feel like it could be very intimidating for new players. It's not automatic. It's not just a win button in there. You need to figure out, okay, I've got this long list of abilities. Which one of these is going to mesh well with what I'm trying to do now and in the future? And how do I make sure all of this works seamlessly? Blah, 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 blah. And so while it's absolutely fantastic and you can completely blow enemies up with the Lich, I feel like that there is some level of requirement of understanding about the systems that you're using. And because of that, I put it at number 3. As opposed to number 2, Azada. Azada just works. And it really doesn't matter what you're doing. Are you using single target spells? Cool, they got something for that. Are you using area effect spells? Cool, they got something for that. Are you using melee combat? They got something for that. Are you using teamwork feats? Cool, they got something for that. Pretty much, you get this short little 6 or 7 abilities that you can choose from. And then all you have to think about is, what am I already doing? And then match that with the list of abilities that they have. It is simple, it is easy, it is 24/7. You don't have to manually activate anything. It all just works. And on top of that, you get a dragon pet who honestly is not impressive in combat once you first get it, but over time is bananas. And over time, you'll be able to mount that dragon. There's no other mythic path that's going to allow you to mount a freaking dragon in combat. So, yeah, Azada is awesome. And then at number 1, I put Angel. Angel is just a bananas mythic path when it comes to combat. It has the top 2 most powerful defensive spells in the game, bar none. If you look at any of my playthroughs, you'll see a lot of times when I'm about to go into a tough fight, I'll have to spend 2-3 minutes putting buffs on all of my people. That doesn't happen with Angel. With Angel, you click 2 buttons and your whole party has what they need. It's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And then as long as you are fighting evil enemies, and especially if you're fighting demons, Angel has the top 3 most damaging offensive powers in the game. Like it's absolutely crazy. The effectiveness goes down some if you're just facing neutral enemies, which there are some in the game, but the vast majority of great enemies you're going to be facing are evil and they're going to be susceptible to what the angel does. It's amazing, it's automatic. You don't have to think about it very much. It's great stuff. Okay, so the next section I want to move into is role playing. At the bottom, number 6 is Trickster. Trickster has some really nice moments. There are some crazy things you can do with Trickster that aren't available anywhere else. But I found the story very underwhelming. And I definitely didn't feel like I was really occupying this role and learning how to take on the role of a trickster. Even the idea of being someone who just runs around and does pranks and crazy things, I didn't feel it. I didn't really feel like Owlcat was focused in what they were trying to provide when they put this together. Now, Owlcat was upfront that they provided Trickster as a path for people who wanted something where, hey, I don't take anything. I don't take any of this serious. I'm just laissez-faire about all of this and just going to go through it. I'm perfectly good with the thought process behind that path. I don't feel like they really accomplished that with what you get from Trickster, and so I put it at number 6. At number 5, I put Azada. Azada is a ton of fun, blast to play. You do a bunch of great things, but it doesn't really feel like you're taking on a role. Like with some of these other mythic paths, you basically have this is the way it was before I chose this path, and now everything has changed. Doesn't really feel that way with Azada to me. Like you absolutely get some cool, amazing powers, but it doesn't feel like okay, there's this there's this goal that I'm trying to reach, something I'm trying to become, and I am slowly making my way to becoming it. I just feel like, hey, I was fighting demons and saving people beforehand. Now I'm doing the exact same thing, but I got a couple more powers under my belt. I kind of feel the same way at number 4 about Angel. Again, Angel is an amazing story, very fun time, quality experience, but it doesn't really feel like you're becoming an angel. It feels like, all right, I was a good person before this. I was saving people and trying to be a good crusader and all of that stuff. And now I've selected Angel, and now I continue doing the same thing, but I just have a bunch more powers that allow me to do that much easier. It doesn't feel like, okay, slowly I'm becoming a celestial being and trying to figure out what that means and how I do that. As opposed to Demon at number 3. Demon feels like, all right, there's this spirit, there's this rage inside of me, and this rage is guiding me towards becoming more and more of a demon, and perhaps, hopefully, a demon lord. You really feel like, okay, beforehand, I was just running around doing a whole bunch of evil things and taking advantage of people, but now I'm taking advantage of people in pursuit of my own personal power, and a whole world has opened up to me about how to do that. It's an amazing role playing experience, very, very powerful. At number 2, I put Lich. Lich, again, is a crazy experience. From the very beginning, you absolutely feel like I am on the path to truly becoming an amazingly powerful Lord of the Undead. And that continues with all the mythic quests that you go through, including being able to replace all of your regular party members with undead party members. It's just bananas. So you got your undead party members, you got your undead minion, you can fill the screen up with a bunch of undead summons and just it's just absolutely bananas. And these undead party members that you get, they're not just cookie cutter mercenaries that just walk around with nothing to say. No, these are story characters that only the Lich can bring about and make undead. So they have their own backgrounds, their own personalities, their own motivations. They're not cookie cutter at all. So it's just an amazing experience that you could only get with Lich. And it's really, really close to being number 1. But in my opinion, Aeon is the best role playing experience in the game, at least acts 1 through 4. More than any other mythic path, Aeon makes you feel like a god. Aeon makes you feel like I am becoming something that's just above it all. And everybody in the town, in the area, reacts to that. I feel like there's more reactivity in the crusade itself about you becoming an Aeon than there is with most of the other mythic paths, except maybe Lich. Lich can give it a run for its money. But everybody kind of sees that, whoa, you've become this other thing. And I'm not sure how to feel about that. It's crazy, crazy and amazing. Now, I say that with one caveat. I believe that the best experience playing an Aeon is probably on your second playthrough, not on your first. Because Aeon is the only mythic path that allows you to, on some level, manipulate time. I'm not going to talk about how that works. I'm just going to say I feel like what you see is significantly more powerful if you know how things go if you had not intervened or involved yourself as an Aeon. It's cool. It's probably cool for you if you see it in your first playthrough. But on your second playthrough, when you know how things are usually supposed to go and how much it changes based upon what you do as an AI, I feel like it's a much stronger role playing experience. But again, regardless, in my opinion, AI's number one. Next up is flexibility. At number six, I put Aeon. Again, I don't feel like its combat kit is all that great. And yeah, I guess because of that, it doesn't really matter what you pick. It's all going to be mediocre no matter what. But still, I put it at the bottom at number six. At number five, also, I do put Demon. Demon actually is very, very flexible. It doesn't matter whether or not you're a melee character or a spellcaster, you can get something out of Demon. I think some people looked at the fact that the pillar is that rage power and assumed you had to be melee to really get the most out of it. That's not true at all. A spellcaster gets a lot out of being a demon. But again, because the uses of your best powers are so limited, it kind of lacks impact. So I guess it's a little similar to Aeon, where you could be whatever you want, but its impact is going to be mediocre regardless. So I rank it lower. At number three, I put Angel. So Angel is absolutely fantastic, but I do feel like you need to be a cleric or an oracle to get the most out of Angel. Because, in my opinion, Angel doesn't really hit its stride until spell level 6. And if you don't combine spell books, you're not going to hit spell level 6 probably until maybe late Act 4, maybe even Act 5. And so you're going to put yourself in a position where Angel will be mediocre for the vast majority of the game if you don't do that. And so because of that, I don't feel like Angel has all that much flexibility, but I ranked it higher because even if you're not one of those two classes, by the time you get to level 6, you're going to start being a monster. And then, of course, by the time you get to level 9, you're going to be just as effective as you would be as a cleric or an oracle. At number three, I put Azada. Azada is fantastic as long as you're using standard methods of going into combat, meaning you're either swinging a sword or doing a spell that's single target or area of effect. It's not as helpful if you're throwing bombs, like an alchemist, for example. And so I feel like even though it's really awesome, and for 95% of what you're doing, it's probably great, there are some outliers that make me kind of place it at number three. At number two, I put Trickster. Trickster doesn't care who you are. It's pretty much all based around what skills are you taking. And 98% of people's builds are going to have at least one skill that they could take, and Trickster will take advantage of it and make it even better. So your actual build doesn't really matter. And especially for those people who have like 4 or 5 different skills to take advantage of, Trickster is going to take those and give you all sorts of crazy different ways you can use to try to make something effective out of it. Again, it doesn't relate to what specifically happens in combat, but it does do a ton of things for the most part outside of combat that are going to make you much more effective once you enter into combat. And then finally at the top, I put Lich. Lich allows you to literally be whatever you like. Like I said, there's a long list of different powers that you can choose from. To my knowledge, Lich is the only mythic path that has abilities specifically to help alchemists and kineticists. Alchemists and kineticists can take advantage of some of the other abilities that are in other mythic paths, but Lich specifically has powers designated for those two classes, and every other class can take advantage of all the other things that Lich has available. So if you truly want a mythic path that is just going to flow and adapt to whatever it is you want to be or whatever you want to do during your playthrough, Lich is probably the path that you want to take. And then finally, I'll give you my own personal ranking on the different mythic paths. So at the bottom, I have Trickster. Again, it has fantastic moments, but I prefer mythic paths that make you better directly in combat. And like I said before, I feel like the story overall for Trickster is weaker compared to what you get in the other mythic paths available to you. At number five, I have Azada. The combat powers you get are amazing, but the story was just okay to me. It wasn't flat out bad the way I feel about Trickster, but to me it was just okay until probably around the end of Act 4. And then at the end of Act 4, it really picked up. I can't wait to see where they go with Azada in the full game. But it didn't really do it for me the way other Mythic Paths did. Please note though that in the beta, even now, for the most part, the dragon has no voice acting whatsoever. So I can see the verbiage, but you get more of the personality and the feeling, of course, from actually hearing the voice. So I don't have that full experience of having that dragon walking around with you the way that some of you will have when the full game releases. And number three, I have Aeon. I hate feeling like my mythic path is doing next to nothing for me in combat. It is extremely annoying, in my personal opinion. And so, because of that, even though Aeon is a crazy role playing experience, I bring it way down because in combat, I don't feel like I use anything that the Aeon gives me. I'm basically depending completely upon the standard build that I have. And compared to the other mythic paths that you get, that it's just kind of weak. At number three, I have Angel. No bad reasons why it's marked lower. It's just that the first two are so amazing that I had to put it at number three. One other thing I didn't mention earlier, though, Angel to me, besides all the other reasons that it's great in combat, is the most visually impressive mythic path that you get in combat, in my opinion. The light shows and things that happen when you're doing holy damage and using some of the higher level powers for Angel are just crazy. They are constantly visually impressive. So, really love that path. At number two, I put Lich. The Lich, again, is fantastic in combat. I understand the systems, and so all the different abilities and options doesn't bother me at all. I very much so know how to combine it in a way that's useful for me. I love really truly feeling like I'm becoming a Lord of the Undead. I love the way townspeople and other people around you react to the fact that you're becoming a Lord of the Undead and are trying to figure out what should we do about this. Like, hey, how do we react to this? Because they can't just say like, oh, you're just this flat out evil person and you're betraying the crusade and we need to throw you out or kill you. Like, it's obvious that you're working for the crusade and making things better, but you're also this necromancer. So what do we do? I love that. I love how complex it makes the situation. Can't wait to see what that's like in the full release. But in my opinion, just going through the beta, acts 1 through 4, my favorite mythic path is Demon. And the reason for that is, in my opinion, the story reacts the most to you being a demon. Angel gives you a lot of insight. You learn a lot more about some of the different major characters in the story. But I don't feel like the world reacts to you as much. Whereas with Demon, as long as you're actually doing the mythic quest, which I think you don't have to do. All right, I think the mythic quests are kind of like side quests, but if you actually take the time to go through the mythic quest, the way the world and some of the other people react to you changes significantly based upon you being a demon, and it creates an incredible experience. And even though from a combat perspective I don't find it all that impressive, again, most of that is because you have such a limited amount of time to use its powers. But for that amount of time while you're using it, they are actually very useful. So it's not like the combat kit for Demon is dead weight by any stretch of the imagination. It's just not as impressive as what you get from a Lich or an Angel. So you combine a mediocre combat kit with an incredible role playing experience and a ton of reactivity from the world around you. In my personal opinion, I had the best time with Demon. Again, there's a lot of stuff for these different mythic paths that's not in the beta that will be in the full game. All of them were missing content regarding the Crusade system. So, what sort of units do you get? What sort of issues or problems are you going to be confronted with? None of that was in the game. Azada's Dragon did not have voice acting. You could not get all the undead party members for a Lich. Whole lot of stuff that was missing. This whole list could markedly change by the time I played through all the mythic paths in the full version. But based upon the information that I have right now and what I experienced in the beta, this is the ranking that makes sense to me. So, hope all of you enjoy this information. I hope it gives you some additional insight into the mythic paths and assist you in figuring out what mythic path you want to play when the game first releases. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please leave me a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will see you all in the next video. Take care.